is drop in a normal node and set the cusp angle to 180. This makes the mesh completely smooth, and I don't want a single hard edge on this thing. You can do this with a whole bunch of different nodes, but as long as you end up with a completely soft shape by the end of it, you're good. And the last thing to do is drop in a transform and scale it to Unreal scale, because that's where we're bringing it, and just to make it easier to use in Cascade. So that's the beautiful shape we're left with. Yeah, I know it looks like a mess, but it will work out. As long as you'll see in game, you don't have to sweat the holes that are in the mesh or the missing faces on the bottom there. As long as the shape looks interesting, it's good enough. So before we go into Unreal, let's make another mesh to go along with it to get some variance. So export this mesh as an FBX and jump back to the original sim. This time, throw the donut from underneath the water to get an upwards stringy thing. And here you can see an example of where I reduced the particle separation, or if I had reduced the particle separation further, I would have gotten a lot more water to tag along up, and I don't want that. I just want these nice stringy bits, because that will gives me this beautiful shape when I plug it into the network we set up before. And this would work really good as the core of like a water splash, or like mud if you hit something with into a puddle of mud. And that's pretty much what we're gonna do. So there's the turntable for that one, and that looks even worse. Don't mind the drops, because I mean they usually look fine, and you can look at them as free particles once you're starting to throw them around. All right, enough of this. Let's shove this into Unreal and see how it looks. Ready to see how broken it is? Did any of you see the missing faces or how low poly it was? Compared to a sprite-based effect, this looks a lot more fluid and volumetric. And this is using two emitters, one for each shape. And all it's doing is scaling up and falling with gravity. Put a brown color on it and bump up the specularity, and that's what you get. There's a lot more you can do with this. You can paint randomly vertex painted to alpha erode it away if you want that, or you could actually simulate out a lot more meshes and save them as a mesh sequence if you need more complexity. But my recommendation is to start this simple and see how far that gets you before starting to add more layers to the whole thing. Alright, I'm going to show you another use for pretty much the same workflow, and that's for making clouds, obviously. We had one level in Battlefield 1 that looked like this, and it took place solely in the clouds over London. So you had to dogfight and fly around and through these cloud shapes, and you also had to run on Xbone and PS4. That's a good challenge. We actually achieved this by building the sky in Houdini, using the and then taking this whole cloudscape that we set up and converting it to a mesh and using it as a spawn surface to spawn regular old cloud smoky sprites. That gave us an easy way to shape the clouds, and it also made sure that we didn't spawn particles inside the cloud volumes, only on the edges, which helped us with our overdraw budget. So let's have a look at what that process looked like. Let's start out by making a cloud. That there is not a cloud, that is a squashed sphere. I noise that thing up, and it doesn't matter if this thing is broken either. I like broken meshes. I repeat that and jam different meshes with different noises on top of each other until you get something that looks interesting. Drop in a cloud node and instant cloud. The cloud node has a whole bunch of interesting settings to make it look puffy and all of these like nice little fluffy balls on top of it, and it's pretty much automatic, so you don't have to worry about the original mesh. So then you create a couple of clouds this way and position them around so you can see the cloudscape starting taking place. And you can keep building here if you want, but at this stage I recommend bringing it into game and test it out. Maybe the shapes are too small, maybe they all need to be spaced out more. Well, let's bring it into game. Well, to bring it into game, we need to actually convert this to a mesh and actually get it out of here. So you drop in a convert VDB node and set it convert to polygons, and it'll give you a result like this. And this will probably give the technical art director that was annoyed with you a stroke. So let's do some more work with it and finish this off. You drop in the same setup with the remeshes and the fuses as you did before. And it may look like you lost a lot of detail when doing this, but if you set the reference to the fuse node and set the visibility to the original volume, you can see that it's actually following quite well if you can see the black lines through the clouds. And remember, on top of this mesh, there will be a whole bunch of fluffy sprites spawned. So let's have a look at what this formation looks like in game. This is just one emitter and some cleverly placed lights, and you can see that we're already getting some interesting shapes using this technique. Now, while one cloud is cool, we were tasked with creating a sky. So let's drop in the sky rig, and that's pretty much done. It allows you to quickly create a cloud landscape, and you can control how much of the sky you want to be covered, how flat it should be underneath, and all of that stuff. So this is the point where you bring over a level designer to sit next to you and actually design the thing, because that stuff is really hard. So if you combine this with the clouds you made before, and you have the building blocks to create a level, so you can actually sit there like with Legos and just say, yeah, we want this tunnel here to fly through, that will be great, and then you can hide down here. And the rest of the sky rig will act as a mere backdrop.